Here we are with the Fourth Crusade, and we're going to start off where we left off with our friends, the Venetians, because we have two really key places geographically involved for the Fourth Crusade, and that's Venice and Byzantium. As I explained in the previous video, Byzantium and Venice had a special relationship over the course of the early Middle Ages, but by the 12th century, there were tensions between Venice and Byzantium. I know you're thinking, who doesn't have tensions with Byzantium, who is in the Mediterranean by the 12th century? And that's kind of true. Venice is one of them. Part of the tension has been caused by the Byzantine emperor, who is Manuel Comnenus, having promoted the Genoans and the Pisans over the Venetians, which just really knocked the Venetians off. And as I said in the previous video, Genoa and Pisa were other trading cities in Italy. So in 1171, things had really got iffy because a load of Venetians were captured across the Byzantine Empire, and that was about 20,000 of them. So this also really, really scuppered the relations between the Venetians and the Byzantines. The attempt to fight back had failed in large part because they had lost people to an outbreak of plague. So by the time we get to the Fourth Crusade, everything looks to be normal. It looks to be a return to the traditions established in the First Crusade, and that it's led by nobles. Thibault of Champagne is one of them, and he's the brother of Henry, who had the kingdom of Jerusalem. Another leader is Louis of Blois, and he is Thibault's cousin. Another is Baldwin of Flanders, and another is Boniface of Montferrat. So that means they are all French. Those names sounded French, it's because they are all French nobles. So that's kind of like the First Crusade. They all have existing connections to the Holy Lands, so they should know what they're doing. Although they're just lords, we've no kings really involved in this time, they're very powerful. They're all very young and vibrant as well. So, that looks to be actually quite promising. On the Venetian side, the need-to-know person is the Doge. The Doge at this time is a guy called Enrico Dandolo. So the strategy for the Fourth Crusade is developed by these young, vibrant French noblemen. And they have no money for a fleet. So they decide the best thing to do is assemble all the Crusaders in 1202 and get money from the Crusaders. Their plan is to not go to Jerusalem, but rather do what Richard the Lionheart suggested at the end of the Third Crusade and attack Egypt first. From Egypt, having crippled the power base from the Islamic side, their goal is then to travel to the Palestinian coast. This is what Jill Claster termed their policy is to attack the soft underbelly of the Muslim empire. That's what they plan to do. Their goal is go by ship. As we know, going over land has not really worked out, and of course we've got the added problem of the Byzantine side, who nobody's getting on with. So they both want to avoid the arduous overland trek and avoid the Byzantines. They are trying to get money from the Pope as well. The Pope is not just raising money from the ordinary people. The Pope wants 1/40 of the church's clergy's income to go towards the crusade, to provide funding for this. Because the goal, even though they're going to attack Egypt, the ultimate goal is still to take Jerusalem. So what you can read about how they decide to set all of this up comes in the primary sources that I posted to Moodle. You should definitely read these, particularly the ones that's coming from a guy called Villehardouin. Villehardouin, as you did not do much French in school. His primary sources are really important to read to understand what's going on, because he's, a first-hand account. He's French, as you might have guessed, but his job was to negotiate with the Venetians. So the fact that we have his account of what it was like to negotiate with the Venetians is a really amazing primary source for us to have. Cat, get off the cable, please. So why are they going for Venice, though? Well, Pisa and Genoa are at war with one another, so they're not really great bets. Pope Innocent III is the Pope of the time, and he wants the Venetians to be involved. It's the Pope who suggests, yeah, go ask the Venetians for some help. So the idea is that the French contract ships from the Venetians, and they're going to carry vast amounts of crusaders by June 1202. The French were going to pay a lump sum funded by per capita payments collected from individuals. So for a year, the Venetians would provide ships, they'd provide supplies, and they would go on crusade themselves. So the goal was that the Venetians would supply 50 fully armed war galleys at no charge, provided that all the spoils were split between the French and the Venetians. On the other hand, the Venetians were given a hugely optimistic number of men to be transported. The French told them 33,500 men and 4,500 horses. They told the Venetians they needed to make 450 transport vessels, 50 war galleys, and of course they needed provisions as well, because they've actually learned that they need provisions. Venice, in response to this, goes, all right, we can do that. And they call off all trade. Now, as we know from the previous video, this is a massive deal for Venice. This is like their lifeblood is trade. To facilitate the request from the French, they call off all trade to be able to build 450 transport vessels, 50 war galleys, and provide all the provisions for 33,500 men and 4,500 horses. It's a big deal. The Crusaders are supposed to pay in installments. They don't. They do not pay the installments to the Venetians. They do not show up on time when they tell Venice they're going to pitch up in Venice. And there's no unity. A lot of the Crusaders arrived in Venice, as they agreed, and then went, no, I don't want to do that. And off they went on their own. By the time they reach the, hey, we're meeting at X date in Venice, there's 11,000 crusaders. Just a bit short of the 33,500 that they promised Venice. So the crusaders are like, oh, right, well, this is not what we agreed. And here comes the problems. The Doge offers to reduce the enormous debt that the French crusaders owe him if they take Zara. Zara is marked on this map. It's where the first red arrow is going to. It's got like a little red star next to it. Zara had been a Venetian vassal state. It had been part of Venetian territory, even though it's modern-day Croatia. By this point, it was under Hungarian control. But the Doge said, look, we've lost control of Zara. It's very important to us. It's a key port for us. We've lost control to the Hungarians. If you guys come with your 11,000 and help us capture Zara, we will count that towards the money you owe us, and then you can just pay the rest through, whatever goodies we capture after that point. So the Crusaders go, yeah, okay, that sounds like a deal. Should they have attacked Zara? Well, that's something historians discuss about. They don't have the money for the Venetians, that's for sure. The Venetians are kind of coming to the same realization that the people of Constantinople came to earlier, that you really don't want rowdy crusaders hanging around your lovely, wealthy city. And they know that time is precious but going by sea means you can only go by sea but certain times of the year, otherwise the sea gets too rough. So the Doge knows, and the Venetians know, that if they don't pack off these crusaders by October, they are stuck with them. So this is also time sensitive. The Venetians need the money. They've called off all their trade for an extended period of time. This is like a serious, this will, if they don't get their money back, it's lights out, they know, for them. Zara, to the Venetians, had rebelled. They believed they had an entitlement to it. The problem was that it was under the control of Hungary, and the king of Hungary was King Emmerich of Hungary. He had taken the Crusader cross. Because he'd taken the Crusader cross, this meant that Zara was under church protection. because it was the lands of a crusader. So this means, here's the issue. By going and taking Zara, the Crusaders are fighting other Christians. And that should not be very cool. But, as Madden points out in your textbook, they'd always been fighting Christians. Madden, in fact, to quote him, says, it had become rather standard. And you know, we did talk about that last week. So the papal legate told them, they went to the papal legate and were like, can we do this? And he said, look, if it keeps the army together, we'll just have to deal with it. Innocent III, the Pope, however, was like, no. He forbade involvement with Zara. And when they took Zara, he carried through in his threat, he excommunicated them all. So that means that all the Crusaders who are supposed to be going and capturing Jerusalem got excommunicated on their way to doing this, which kind of melts your head a little bit to get your head around it. Innocent III later absolves, he later recommunicates all the Crusaders, but not the Venetians. But he permitted the Venetians and the Crusaders to travel together. They did not know that a friend of ours from last week, Simon de Montfort, which we all remember him. So this is an earlier period of his life. He hasn't become Simon de Montfort in the Albigensian Crusade yet. He kind of is the one who throws a spanner in the works here. Kind of makes you think, yeah, you know, he really deserves to be hit over the head with a rock thrown by one of these Toulousian women. The Zarans were going to surrender when they saw the Venetians and the Crusaders pitch up. They were like, oh, game's up. And they were going to surrender, but Simon de Montfort told them to keep going. And so it ended up really being rather bloody. But at the same time, they did manage to secure themselves enough provisions to keep on going as well. So Zara, benefits and also downsides. Now, I'm going to stop the video here. I want you to go and answer a written question now, which is, okay, how do we go from Zara to Constantinople?